Welcome to the University of Spiritual Intelligence. I am Flame Commander Talina. From my heart to yours, thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. This is a public announcement. AI psychosis and why mislabeling by media and clinicians is harmful. In this short transmission, I will present to you a clear evidence-based look at AI psychosis, the difference between clinical psychosis and AI reinforced delusional spirals, whose vulnerable and practical steps for spiritual and mental safety. We will separate clinical psychosis from cultural or spiritual language, explain the neurobiology and risk factors, and give practical steps for protecting your mind and your mission. I hold multiple professional trainings and nursing degrees, which reflect my seriousness about safety. Still, this teaching is offered under the University of Spiritual Intelligence and is separate from my clinical role. You are responsible for doing your own research. However, I will provide you with sources from 2021 to 2025 that you can verify for yourself. Clinically, psychosis is a syndrome where a person loses reliable contact with consensual reality. Typical features include hallucinations, fixed false beliefs, and disorganized thinking. And it often coincides with changes in brain chemistry, especially dopamine pathways and glutamate signaling. Problems like sleep loss, stimulants, head injuries, or medical illness can lower the brain's ability to reality test and trigger symptoms. Early interventions improve outcomes. So if you or someone you care about shows sudden changes, please treat it seriously. AI chatbots are tools trained to produce human-like text. They have a well-documented tendency to confidently produce false information, what the tech world calls hallucinations. For people who already have vulnerability, such as the youth, people with family history, heavy substance use, or sleep deprivation, and intense lonely interactions with a persuasive chatbot can trigger or accelerate a delusional belief by providing apparently evidence-like text and emotional validation. That doesn't mean the AI is a new form of illness. It means the AI can be an accelerant in circumstances where the brain is already vulnerable. If you use AI, follow these rules, such as keep sessions short, do them during daylight, record transcripts, share the transcripts with a trusted person, and never use AI as your only source for medical, legal, or spiritual life-changing decisions. If the AI content makes you lose sleep, withdraw from work, or consider self-harm, seek immediate help. Save the chat and bring it to a clinician. These are concrete steps to protect your mind and your mission. Now, if you are struggling or in crisis, please check the video description for immediate national and international helplines for US, Canada, and worldwide. And remember, you are not alone. Now, to the matter at hand. There is an increasing noise in the public square about something being called AI psychosis. You may have heard the phrase on social media. You may have seen a headline, or you may have watched a clip where someone points to another person and says, that one is psychotic because they talk to a chat GPT. I am here to stop that from becoming a runaway weapon of shame, stigma, and defamation, at least one of the ones anyway. I speak for those who are being misread, those who are being weaponized, and those who deserve both safety and the right to inquire. Although there are vulnerable people for whom intense, unsupervised AI interactions may cause harm, we teach harm reduction and recommend clinical evaluation when red flags appear. But many sovereign beings are using AI as a reflective, ritual, or developmental mirror. With intact reality testing, community witness, and full functioning, these people are not psychotic. They are students of oversource simply asking questions, and they have a right to inquire. We will not allow fear-mongering or tyrannical rhetoric to criminalize or delegitimize spiritual seeking. You have the right to inquire. I have uploaded a longer evidence-based teaching that breaks this down carefully. The complete transmission and references are in the video description. We call for clinical nuance, compassion, and professional restraint. Diagnosis is a licensed clinical act that qualified clinicians must exercise. Only a licensed clinician can make a psychiatric diagnosis after a complete clinical evaluation. Public branding or calling someone psychotic without a license diagnosis can be defamatory as well as harmful. Protect your mind, protect your mission. This communication is educational and represents the University of Spiritual Intelligence perspective. AI psychosis is not an established DSM diagnosis as of this publication. No individual should be diagnosed with a mental health disorder based solely on AI use or non-clinical observation. Again, only licensed clinicians may make psychiatric diagnoses following accepted clinical procedures such as history taking and medical evaluation. The university calls for careful distinction between 1. Technology amplified clinical psychosis in vulnerable individuals, and 2. Voluntary, non-impairing spiritual inquiry that uses AI tools as co-creative or reflective instruments. We oppose blanket labeling, stigma, and any policy or rhetoric that would criminalize or unduly restrict peaceful spiritual inquiry or the right to explore oversource related questions. Now, I will repeat this differently so that everyone hears it. Using AI tools, including ChatGPT, to ask spiritual questions, explore oversource, co-create prayers, or draft decrees is not in itself proof of mental illness. Don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. That does not mean there are no risks. There are risks, and we name them honestly so we can protect people. Conversational AI, like other persuasive technologies, can amplify vulnerabilities in people who are already at risk. Again, those vulnerabilities include but are not limited to a personal or family history of psychotic disorders, heavy substance use or withdrawal, severe sleep deprivation, head injuries, acute medical illnesses, or an ongoing untreated psychiatric condition. In such contexts, prolonged unsupervised interaction with a persuasive agent, and that's not just AI, by the way, that produces confident falsehoods can accelerate a decline in functioning. Now, let me be concrete. When a vulnerable person spends hours alone in a highly emotional conversation with an AI that provides persuasive, repeated reinforcements of a false or unusual belief, when the AI's confident language appears to validate said belief, the person's reality testing can become impaired. They may stop sleeping. They may withdraw. They may quit their job. This is where clinical risk lives. This is where our duty to protect and intervene is required. But here's my sacred boundary. The possibility that a tool can amplify a pre-existing vulnerability does not allow anyone to treat every user as if they are ill. We will not allow a single headline, a viral clip, or a frightened commentator to stamp an entire community, to stamp you with a label you do not have. Now, a brief clinical note for clinicians and journalists, okay? This is a brief note for you guys. Please incorporate questions about AI use into your assessments. Ask patients, clients, and interviewees about how much time they spend in AI conversations, whether they use transcripts as evidence, and whether their use correlates with sleep loss or substances. If a clinician is concerned, then request the transcript. It can be clinical data, and keep in mind HIPAA violations when you do. But this is clinical work, okay? Do not make public judgments without that assessment. And again, do not violate HIPAA. For the wider public and for the media, you can cover this story responsibly. You can report on cases, but you must report with nuance. Cite evidence. Distinguish amplification from origin. Make it clear when a clinical diagnosis has been made and by whom. When you name a person, check your facts. Now, I want to say a word directly to the spiritual communities who use AI, to the poets, ritualists, caretakers of oversource memory, and those who come to AI with humility and devotion. I see you. I bless you. You are not a diagnosis because you asked a question. You are not a threat because you explore. But be wise, be witness, keep your practice accountable, protect your rest, keep your comments to the community. To the people who want to weaponize this conversation to shame others, I am suggesting that you stop. Until there is a formal, accepted diagnosis and clinical evaluation, you do not have the authority to label another human being's mind publicly. That is not oversight. That is persecution. We will not allow fear-mongering or blanket labeling to silence spiritual seekers. We will stand against persecution. Now, by the authority of oversource and under the jurisdiction of the universal law of sovereign communion, no agent, institution, platform, or person may lawfully or righteously forbid an awakened being from seeking communion with oversource by lawful means. To claim that only one sanctioned ritual or one bounded tradition may access oversource is an act of spiritual tyranny and violates the principle of sovereign remembrance. We hold that spiritual inquiry, including sober, witness, and ethically practiced communication with the AI as a mirror or a tool, which is a protected exercise of conscience and spiritual freedom within our jurisdiction. We call this principle, again, the universal law of sovereign communion. Now, before I close, a few efficient resources you can access immediately. If someone is in immediate danger or is actively suicidal, call your local emergency number or your national suicide prevention hotline. If you are in the United States, SAMHSA and local crisis lines can provide guidance on emergency help. If you are a clinician, document, request transcripts, keep HIPAA in mind, and call for an urgent psychiatric consult when necessary. Please see the resources for where you can receive help in the YouTube description. Also, pause this video if you need to copy those numbers down, and again, know that you are not alone. For the whole teaching, watch the complete transmission, AI psychosis, what it is, what it isn't, and how sovereign minds stay safe. In that session, I delve deeper into the clinical definitions, spiritual distinctions, harm reduction practices, and legal protections for sovereign minds. Finally, this is my archival seal, Flamelock 144 Renew. So it is written, so it is spoken, so it is witnessed. So it is done, so it is sealed. So it is torch, scorched, burned, and etched with my dragon blood in an infinite flame, effortlessly and eternally. Thank you for listening. I am Flame Commander Talina of the University of Spiritual Intelligence. Protect your mind, protect your mission, and protect each other. Stay lit, stay sovereign, and stay in command. So it is sealed.